Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I am Mike, and I just got out of Dune Part 2. I still can't feel my butt. My body is full of sugar and salts, and then the sitting period, and I'm just here. I made it through. I'm alive, and I had a great time. Honestly, it was a great movie. We're going to talk about all that spoiler-free in this video for sure. I'd never seen anything Dune, not the remake, the old movie, none of it, until the other day when I watched Dune 2021 for the first time. And I did a video about that. You can check it out. But what I found out to be is someone who's not super into fantasy stuff, you know, as I wear a Justice League shirt. I mean, like sci-fi type fantasy, Lord of the Rings and all that stuff, never really got my gears going. But what I found and fell in love with about Dune, and this movie specifically, was the direction by Denis Villeneuve. I love everything that guy does, and these two movies are more of the same. Dune Part 2 actually took that and took it up a step further. Like, he ascended a step further into the greatness of Beyond with this movie, and we'll talk about that as well. But also the cinematography of Greig Fraser. I could sit, they're the kind of movies like a David Fincher movie, who's my favorite director of all time. They're the kind of movies that you could just sit and stare at and just be in that dark, weird world and just feel comfortable in it. This movie is more of the same for Dune for sure. The problems I had with the first movie, the things I loved about the first movie, they are more of the same, but it's just stepped up to another level. Specifically, as soon as the movie starts out, there's this action sequence, and I'm actually blown away by it. Like, you're seeing things done on film in a way that literally have never been done before. And I don't know exactly how to put that, but when you watch it, a scene will happen and it will be created so smoothly and so sharp, and everything about it is absolute perfection. And it's so fast and it's in your face when it happens, and the action is so good and grandiose that, like, you're seeing something you've never seen before. Like watching James Cameron work in the 90s. That's what it felt like with this movie. I didn't feel like that with the first Dune, even though I thought it was great. I thought he did a great job directing it, and I thought the movie was great. This took that a step further, and there's just certain scenes in this, action scenes or whatever, that I'm absolutely blown away with. Like, I'm experiencing something that's never been before. And I don't know if you can put a price on that alone. Now, the movie's not perfect to me. I do have my issues with it, but just, again, the cinematography and Denis Villeneuve's something special, man. He knows what he wants, and he goes out and creates special things. And this movie's no different. But speaking of which, and it's very apropos for this situation, I want to thank our sponsors for today's video. I want to thank Hamilton, the watchmaker of filmmakers, for sponsoring this video today. Hamilton has worked with a bunch of different movies before, either styling watches that were based on the film or actually having their watches be in film. But with Dune 2 coming out this week in theaters, Hamilton actually worked with director Denis Villeneuve and prop master Doug Harlocker to create a device that was actually used in the film. But they didn't stop there. They actually created a version of this device that is one of their Hamilton watches that you can actually purchase and wear and keep for yourself. The XXL Bright Dune limited edition watch. Let's take a look at this thing together. It comes with this smooth packaging around it, and watch when you press this and it opens up. I just want to put everything in there, you know? Anything you put in there would just be cool. But yeah, the watch itself, it has this really cool design. Like, I put this on and I feel like I'm on a motorcycle. I don't know if that's supposed to be the idea, but I just feel like I'm on a motorcycle right now. But if you press this part right here, the watch lights up in this beautiful blue light that's actually meant to be the same color as the eye color of the Fremens and those big, beautiful eyes that they have. But yeah, if you're a fan of Dune, I could not imagine a cooler piece of memorabilia to own and wear. I wish more movies and companies would make props like this, or would get with companies like Hamilton to do this, because it's like toys for adults, only you don't have to argue with your wife that they aren't called toys. They're collector's items or even action figures. But yeah, you can check out this design by Hamilton, the watchmaker of filmmakers, in Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures Dune Part 2 in theaters and IMAX on March 1st and internationally on February the 28th. And you can also check out this watch for yourself in the link down below. So the main question I feel like I had going into Dune Part 2 is, how well does it take what they built up? Because it did suffer from a little bit of Part 1 syndrome to me, you know? So like, how well did they take that and really just blow our minds with Part 2? And I will say that it does. You know, the action scenes in this are so well done and they're so amazing. I'm just flabbergasted by it. And I will say, absolutely, this movie's got to be seen on the biggest theater in your area, whether it's IMAX. I don't have an IMAX here, but whether it's IMAX or I saw in the RPX. And I've never seen a movie take that theater advantage, you know, with the extra sound and the shaky seats. I didn't actually sit in the super shaky seats because I can't stand those things. This movie, you would have been like when you put a quarter in a motel bed in the 80s, you would have been going all over the place like Jim Carrey in the back of a hi-ho, chitty-chitty bang bang. It wasn't action-packed the entire time, but when the action did hit, like you could feel the speakers, man. Like my chest was reverberating like I was at a concert. It was an experience to see in this theater. You got to go see it in one of those theaters. It's wild. This is not meant to be watched at home on HBO Max. It's just not. It's so cool. It was the theater and like the sound and the look and everything. It was a whole nother element of the experience of watching this movie. That's the best way I can think to put it. It's so good. Some of the things that I never really got on board with in the first movie was I just don't buy Zendaya as like this super cool badass type of like, it just didn't do it for me. And that actually got worse in this movie. I will say that. I heard a lot of people say, oh, wait till you see how their characters unfold, then you'll get it. And I was like, cool. But for me, honestly, and Timothée Chalamet, I also, like, I don't mind him. He doesn't, as an actor, he doesn't bother me. I see this character and I totally picture someone else in that role other than Timothée Chalamet. So I was thinking, like, it's good. He does a good job, but man, it feels like that should be someone else's. Like, I almost just don't buy it. But that being said, he impressed me more with this one, even though I could still definitely see somebody else in that role. Her acting is fine. It's just the character. And the character for me, while all this amazing story building and world building and stuff is going on, and his character was really stretching out and crazy stuff was happening, every time the camera would just go back to her and she'd be like, just like pissed off, just like mean mugging him the entire movie, you know? And it just felt, to me, the character just felt like the whole time it was like, I want you to do what I want you to do, not what everybody else wants you to do. It's like your friend when he gets that girlfriend and he's like, I don't know, man, Susie says I shouldn't ever do anything ever. You're like, stop listening to Susie. I mean, some things she's right about. You really do need to put some of that stuff down you've been doing. But come on, man, you can play an arcade game. I'm going way too deep with this. I don't know. My point is this, is like her disapproving of him and every single thing he did. I was like, it just didn't feel earned. So that was worse, but I'm telling you, everything else just made up for it completely. Everything that was great about the first movie is double great in this movie. The villains, Austin Butler, everybody talks about how great he was. He is. But, and there's nothing wrong with how he's great. But I think the real respect for that character goes to the makeup artists and the world that they built around the bad guys. There's this certain part of the movie where they go into and they show you kind of that side of things, and it's like this, all the colors just sucked out of it, and it's almost like what they did with Sin City when they would do that, but it's just on a different scope. It's just a huge scope, and it's one of the most glorious things I've ever seen on a screen. Those people look so cool. They kind of look like the people from Prometheus, you know, the dude who takes the shot of the caviar and then just like melts in the beginning of the movie. Kind of had that vibe about him, but they're just freaky. And he was such a badass, like in like the wrong ways, like not in a cool way. Like you hated his guts. But, and again, Christopher Walken in this, like he makes anything better. He was perfectly cast for that role. Florence Pugh was great in her role. That fit perfectly. There's so many people in this movie. You know what I can't help but think though when I watch it? Arnold Schwarzenegger would just fit in this world, like today's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just wish they would give him a small, like reserved role where he could just be one of these people. I think he'd be so good in that. I want to see it. But anyway, Javier Bardem, I didn't mention him in my first review. He was one of my favorite parts of that movie though, and he is tenfold more so here. I wish Marvel and stuff would take note because it's like, this is how you do comedic relief. It's so subtle. It's just natural to his character. He's not popping around the corner every now and then with like a rubber chicken or anything like that, but he's funny. Like he cracks you up and he really does relieve some of the tension, and he's entertaining and he's so charismatic and likable. And just, I love what this movie does with the idea of religion and how they're taught. They get way deeper into that. It's not all so mystical. It kind of starts to fortify itself a little bit. And the movie just feels a lot more satisfying. It just really does. From the bad guys, having so many bad guys in each level of bad guy being so interesting and fascinating. Again, still not super interested in the love story between the two main characters. Never really bought into that. That's the only real flaw I see with the movie, other than I really wish that it was just 2 hours long. And I won't take away from the movie for that. I feel like you could enjoy rewatching this and just taking in the spectacle if the movies just weren't so epic to go through, you know? But from the worms to the action scenes to the war scenes to just explosions, all of it, it's just so cool. Like everything is done so well and sleek and beautiful to look at. The movie is a 9.0 out of 10 for me. It's going to be one of the best movies of the year. Got to see it on the biggest screen possible. I like what they're doing with the story. And it felt like a fuller movie than the first one did. And the way it leads off, you're interested in what's going to come next, but you do feel fulfilled. And there's one moment that happens at the end of this movie I didn't think it was going to happen. And it's like it's like if you go to Monday Night Raw, right? And you're thinking, well, we're gonna see like the lead up to WrestleMania. You don't expect to see the WrestleMania guys come running out of the tunnel for a little fight, and you're like, oh my god, we get to see like a pre-version of that fight. We actually get to watch the fight tonight. That's kind of how the ending of this felt. When that happened, I was like, I didn't think that was gonna happen. Oh, here we go, here we go. It was a really cool surprise to the movie, and just great acting, great action. It looks just as good as it previously did. It's an amazing movie. If you're into this at all, go see it, and go see it on the biggest screen possible. 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate you taking the time today, and also for checking out Hamilton Watches, the watchmaker of filmmakers, in the link down below. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'm going to go try to feel my lower limbic system again.